Welcome to Empire Building, the podcast where we talk about building big businesses and even bigger lives. I'm your co-host, Wendy Papasan.
I'm Via Williams.
And I'm Seychelle Van Poole. Well, guys, here on Empire Building, we talk a lot about building a big business. And this episode is actually airing really close to Mother's Day. So we thought we might bring a little different spin for you today. And we're going to take some time today to bring you something really, really near and dear to our heart. And that is when you build a big business and you're building a big life, sometimes you have parenting fails. Like, you really do. And specifically in our cases, mom fails. So in honor of all of you all who I'm sure are amazing mothers or have amazing mothers in your life, we're going to, just have a little fun today and talk about some of our mom fails for you. And we also want to hear from you. So we would love it if you're listening today and you happen to have kids. We want to hear about your parenting fails too. So if you're listening, I want you to write down this email address, and we want to hear some of your fun parenting fails too. And that email address is empirebuildingpodcast@gmail.com, and put in the subject parenting fail. And then we'll make sure we want to do a fun episode and share some of our listeners' parenting fails as well, because parenting fails as well.
You can always
Fails
email
as
us
well.
anything on there. You can email us like ideas, topics you want, feedback, like
that too.
I know. I don't know what we haven't ever shared that before. I know. It's because we just created this email right before this episode. That's why.
This morning.
Did our operations team do
Yes.
it? Oh, wait. No.
Oh, wait.
That
That was me.
Via's assistant. Via's assistant. did
Via's
it.
assistant did it. That is accurate because that is me.
AKA Via.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we want to hear from you. So send it to empirebuildingpodcast@gmail.com because we want to hear from you, and we would love to hear some of your fun parenting fails too. So let's jump right in. I think we all have some fun ones to share. COVID's been fun, guys. So that's been great and exciting. I think I might win the award for homeschooling our child the longest. And when I say we, I really mean Nick helped lead a lot of that too. And Quinn was in homeschool for like a year and a half. And like in month 3, she's a very independent child. She's wonderful. And was really not feeling the homeschool thing on Zoom. You're in first grade. Why would you? That's a terrible idea. And she started in her homework just basically like mailing it in. Like, no, not doing this homework. Like, they'd be like, we need you to write 3 sentences about this. And she, instead of writing like sentences about dolphins, would just write, I don't like doing this work. This assignment is not smart. Why am I wasting time doing this?
In the first grade.
Yeah, in first grade. And we didn't know, right? Because she's in Montessori, and it's all about empowering your child to do their best work and send it in. And, she's pretty techie, so she's like, I'll do my work and send it in. So for like weeks, she's sending in these like not nice notes to her teacher instead of doing her homework. And finally, her teacher one day like calls me up, and when the teacher's like, I really need to talk to you. And it's a Zoom class. It's not like she can do something in class. She's in your house. You're like, what is going on? She starts scrolling me through all of her homework.
Oh, no.
And it's like, my teacher's a lazy teacher. Or like, why didn't you put more effort into that?
Oh my God. Insulting the teacher.
My teacher's
I love
lazy.
it.
I know. It's very honest. We always talk about, you want to be like in integrity with your feelings. It was very honest feelings. She really felt that way, I guess. And I'm reading through these just like, oh no. What does she think we've been doing as parents during COVID? Like just
That's awesome.
completely abandoning her? I mean, well, maybe. I don't know.
Well, what I love is she probably was like hit her breaking point anyway, like all teachers. Now she was just like, I got to have a discussion about it. Well,
yeah.
And that reminds me.
We pushed her to the edge. Absolutely.
Yes.
Great moment.
Oh, all
Great
teachers were
parenting
pushed to
moment.
the edge. Shout out to
They're
all the
saints.
teachers out there.
Oh my gosh.
Shout
You
out
are
to all the
saints.
teachers.
Oh my
You
goodness.
are saints.
So
We just
good.
sent that
Especially
same
on-
teacher a Starbucks card last week.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, especially the moms that were teachers who were trying to probably homeschool their own
Horrible.
freaking kids while they were teaching school at home.
horrible.
I don't even know
Bless
how you
their
did
hearts.
it. Don't even know how they did it. They're
Well, day
amazing.
drinking. That's got to be it. That's
that's
the
how.
only way.
That was
Yeah.
what was in my PTA coffee mug. I don't know what was in yours, but yeah.
Well, I have a similar story, although it wasn't during COVID, and so we had no excuse. But it wasn't a big mom fail, but it was just like a funny thing. My youngest in kindergarten, so they had something called read, rest, reflect, which means you could either read a book, take a nap, or write in your journal during nap time. And my youngest would always do the reflection and write in the journal. And so one day we happened to open up the journal, or actually I don't think the teacher told us about it, but we opened up the journal, and on the top of the page it says CUSWRDS, cuss words. Okay, this is my 5-year-old. And then there's a list, a numbered list, very carefully, precisely numbered list. 1, FUK. 2, I'm not gonna do them all, but you can guess what the list was. And so just opening that up as a mom
BAM.
was yeah, all so sweetly misspelled. Super funny.
Yeah. Phonetically.
Yeah, super
like
funny.
because they've heard them.
Yeah. It's like great list, nice penmanship.
Well, since we're doing school fails, the one that pops into my head, I have so many fails, it's not even funny. And I also have 3 kids, so I have more opportunity to fail. But I just don't even care if he listens to this episode, because we are so, it's fine. But
I think we're safe. That's the best
COVID
part.
was a complete and utter just disaster as far as school went in the Williams
Yeah.
household. You had a combination of me working harder than I've ever worked, because now I know some people were at home. I run 8 retail offices, like real estate offices. So I had the opposite effect. So I'm just super distracted. Like, are we going out of business, or what's happening? And there's mandates
Totally.
coming every day,
Yeah.
and it was
Yeah.
crazy. And then, my husband's in property management. And there was rent moratoriums. It was just we were really preoccupied and also worried about everything. And so, the kids just slipped through the crack, like their schools. We paid attention to the kids, but their schooling slipped through the
Yeah, we're the
whatever.
same.
Oh, yeah.
And then later that year, so it was like 2020, right? So later that year, and we're just like in this blissful ignorance about it. And I think it was like, if you don't ask and you don't know, everything's fine, kind of a thing, right? I think so. So all of a sudden, I get this notification. Aiden's second notification or third notification, because Seychelle and I are notoriously not good at email, right? And I get all these school emails, and it's Aiden is getting like his GPA. He had like 6 classes or 7 classes, and it was like 2 D's, an F, and I think a C and a B, and I think there might have been an A in PE, but I don't even think PE was an A. Like, I'm not even sure. I don't even remember anymore. And I'm like, oh my God, what? How do we know this? Aiden's failing? And so like I call Aiden upstairs, and I'm like, Aiden, what's going on? Right. I've been waiting for you to say something, and it's gone on surprisingly long. So I've had a lot of time to think about it and like prepare like what I was going to do this. He goes, I have a plan. Everything's going according to plan. Don't worry about it.
Oh,
That was his response. And I'm incredulous. I'm like, what are you talking about?
What's the plan?
Yeah. What the frick are you talking about? Like, what?
But I mean, at the same point, you're like, oh, that sounds great. I'm going back to work.
No, literally, that's what I wanted to hear. The thing is, that's what I wanted to hear. But I'm like, Aiden, what's the plan? Don't worry about it. I've got a plan. I'm like, well, actually, you need to tell me the plan and be accountable to the plan. Here's the plan. So he starts going through his plan, and sure enough, that little pipsqueak, they go to pass fail that year. Because of quarantine, right? So then we roll into the next semester, right? Now he's in his junior year, right? We go to the next semester, pass fail again. He's on the brink. He's getting like D minuses, D's in like 2 classes, like math and whatever. Sure enough, pass fail. Every single semester he gets away with like this loophole, right? This is his last semester senior year. He just was able, he understood, he talked to a college he's going to, talked to his high school. He gets to drop pre-calc. And his GPA is going to go up to like a 3.5, and he was just getting like a D minus in it. So like, I swear to you, that kid is going to be successful in life because of the loopholes, because of working systems, not because of academics. Like that's mom of the year.
There's a
right
path for that.
Mom of the
Yeah,
year.
there's a
And he's
path
always
for
like,
that.
I have a
Yeah.
plan. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
And it always
managing
works. That's the thing. It
Managing up.
always works.
Yeah, brilliant
I know.
kid. Well, both of my kids really suffered during COVID as far as school goes.
Yeah.
I mean, Gus actually is delayed a year. You know,
Yeah.
he just got really behind.
Yeah, my kids really suffered.
Both my kids just really suffered. So it's tough. It's really tough.
I think that's a common theme with a lot of families. I mean, you know, watching even on Zoom how many other kids are so far behind, you know, even at these little ages, I think parents just across the board really struggled with that work-life balance during that time. You know, the other thing that really suffered for us during that time was sleep. And admittedly, this takes me back to when Quinn was little. You know, my sister-in-law said to me, back up. Our best friends had a boy, 12 weeks before we had Quinn. They're 12 weeks apart.
It's the same age.
And their sweet, darling son started sleeping through the night at 10 weeks and has never stopped, ever. And he just sleeps.
Well, they're
like a dream
obviously
and never
amazing
stops.
parents.
Clearly,
Yeah.
they're amazing
Clearly, there's
parents.
no genetics involved.
Yeah, they're amazing parents. And so, you know, me being, you know, mildly competitive, you know, and I'm like 2 weeks out from having our kid. I'm like, if they can get that kid to sleep by 10 weeks, right? Like, we have got this. We have totally
2
got
months
this.
max.
Yeah, maybe by, you know, 8 weeks, you know, at the worst, this kid will sleep through the night. And my, like, you know, competitive self, 8 weeks comes and goes. 12 weeks comes and goes. 12 months comes and goes, still not sleeping. And my sister-in-law finally looks at me one day and she's like, I have never met a baby who did not sleep through the night until 18 months. Like, just, you'll be fine. Just get, you know, between now and 18 months, you'll totally be sleeping through the night. Dudes, I don't want to even know how many months old we are, but it is not, like, it's still a thing. And so I tried the whole cry it out thing. And this little munchkin was so smart that she would look right in the camera and scream at 9 months old, like right in the camera. And she was so nimble. She'd climb and throw herself up out of the crib to get out of, like, because you can't then leave your kid on the floor, right? Like, it won't work. So she knew, like, loopholes at that age, how to get out of it. So that was not fun having to deal with that. But sleep training, just in general, in this household, has not gone well. It's not gone well, and it's a total mom fail. And
That is not a mom fail.
No, that's not a mom fail.
I don't know.
Everybody
No.
I don't know, guys.
That is not a mom
part of
fail.
it's the kid. But I think the mom fail for me was putting expectations on yourself for what your kid is supposed to be, right? Instead of embracing who they are at a younger age with that. But it is, you know, sleep deprivation is a form of torture, guys. So, like,
Yes,
not
I know.
having it
I don't know how
can
you've
make
done
you a
it.
little
I don't know
tweaked.
how you did it.
Little
I don't
tweaks.
either. Yeah. Well, I have a true mom fail.
Okay, good. Because I was going to say, I've
yeah.
got a real mom fail. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's not a mom fail.
No.
So, my oldest son, well, anybody who knows him knows he loves to eat. Like, that's like how we spend time together. He's just a foodie. He's always made weird food. And so one year, I think he was in the first grade, he invited me to come and have Thanksgiving, like, public school hot lunch with him, which is like a big deal. It's like a big deal at the school. All the parents come. And so I thought it was at a certain time, and instead of showing up at the right time, and I didn't even have anything to do. So it wasn't even like a good excuse. I didn't have a client. And so I roll in right as he's walking out of the cafeteria. And this is my sweet little blue-eyed, curly-haired, 7-year-old.
Cherub
Looks up at
angel
me.
looking. Yeah.
I mean, the cutest
Darling.
kid. Yeah. Looks up at me, sees me, and just goes, bursts into tears because he's clearly been eating his little turkey and mashed potatoes and gravy all alone. So
That breaks
if
my
that
heart.
doesn't make you feel bad, I don't know
just
what
breaks
does.
my heart. What did you tell him? You just
know
you
what
just told
does.
him
Well,
the
he-
truth.
Yeah, Mommy's late. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's terrible.
Okay,
Yeah.
I've got
So-
an awesome scheduling fail since we're on scheduling fails. So picture this, like the kids have heard, I love river rafting. My husband loves river rafting. And the kids have been regaled with stories. Like we went on a 10-day river rafting cruise in Nepal. Not cruise, sorry. I don't know why I said cruise. We went like a 10-day rugged river rafting expedition in Nepal, we in Africa. We just like river rafting. So the kids have kind of heard this over the years. And we, for whatever reason as a family, we just haven't river rafted a lot. Part of it's because of how we had our third child. It was sort of tough. She's so much younger. She's 10 years younger than my oldest. And so whatever. So the two older boys, we go on a trip with them we went to a wedding in Park City, and we went a little early. And as a family, I booked this huge river rafting excursion. So it kind of hyped it up, probably a little too much, right? So we hyped it up. We fly in like 2 days early before the wedding, and that second day was going to be this all-day thing. We're like, okay, pack your wet shoes. Like, everyone's packed and ready to go. So we get into our hotel in Salt Lake City, and I'm like, and I'm trying to look up the point where we're supposed to go, and I'm like, I am not finding it. Like, we're in Salt Lake City, and I keep finding the name of this river in Wyoming. But we're in Utah. It's weird, right? So finally, I'm like, what? And I'm like, I spent hundreds too. I mean, I might have spent $1,000. Probably did. I was like, I booked our river rafting excursion in the wrong state. and you should have seen their faces. What? We're not river rafting?
We're going to an escape room.
Mom, how do you do that in the wrong state? Like, how do you do that? And I'm like, no, there's a drop down menu. I know exactly how I did it now because there's a drop down and I picked the wrong thing. But Mom, there's like confirmations and don't they send emails? I'm like, emails. We're back to the email theme. I'm like, oh. So when I texted Aiden and Michael before this episode, I go, hey guys, we're doing a mom fail episode. Like, what are all my fails? First thing, I press send and I get it back. River rafting in the wrong state. They still like anytime I even make dinner reservations now, it's like, is it in the right state? I mean, I will never let that down. So,
all the things you've done so well and perfect in your life.
And then I book river rafting in the wrong state.
No, but I mean, that's how it is. They remember all that stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I have another one. I have so many. I feel like I have the most. But so at school, I think it was in second grade, Gus it was like a dress up as your favorite book character day. And Gus wanted to go as Ron Weasley from Harry Potter. And so he had, beautiful platinum blonde hair. I mean, and he's got beautiful hair. And it was like kind of longish and curly. Mm-hmm. And so I'm kind of like knowing I have to like get some hair dye. So I run into Walgreens and I'm rushing, probably trying to get in and out really quick. And I'm looking at the boxes. And so I see like one that's like temporarily red dye. And I'm thinking without looking at it too closely that it's just kind of like wash in and wash out. So we go home, I dye his hair. He goes to school, he's a big hit. But then when we go to wash it out the next day, it doesn't wash out. We wash it again. It doesn't wash out. It doesn't wash out. And it turns out it's like semi-permanent. And so this kid is going to school for 6 weeks with what turns out to be eventually like pink hair.
Pink hair.
Right? So, yeah. We still have pictures of him from then. It's like, oh, man.
Oh, that's so precious, though.
Yeah,
Aww.
I know. It's sweet. Oh, so sweet.
I don't know why this just popped into my head. Another mom fail that has to kind of do with school. But my oldest son is the most, well, he's the only one that's really academically inclined of my kids. And he's also just really quiet and shy. You guys know him. He's just so sweet. And so he's just extraordinarily introverted. And, I get home from work. It's like Friday night, right? Kind of like work hangover. Everyone's just kind of, like, let's watch a movie together, whatever. And we're all kind of sitting there. And Michael, like, says in his own way, like, I think I have the SAT tomorrow. And I go, what? And I, like, jump out of it. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, I mean, this is like, I'm like type A, like, there should have been Stanley Kaplan prep. There should have been, like, whatever. I'm like, what? And he goes, Yeah, I think it might be tomorrow. Meanwhile, like Harry Potter's on or something. I don't even know what's on, right? And I'm like, pause the Marvel movie or whatever is on. Like, pause the movie. I'm like freaking out by now, right? Sure enough, he had the SAT. We didn't even have pencils. Like we had to dig around. Like I can't remember. One of us might have had to go to the store for pencils. I don't remember. He literally... And he goes, yeah, and here's the kicker. It's in Poulsbo. So if you're in the Seattle area, you would understand what that means. This is a ferry ride. This is hours. This is arguably a full day trip or maybe an overnight because he couldn't get it in. And I'm like, what? Like, what? And so so we had to scramble like, with all the logistics to get him. He literally plops in. And what I do remember is the pencils were so chewed up, like, I don't know. The cats, I don't even know who chewed those. Probably Aiden. It was probably Aiden. Michael shows up. He sits down with like minutes to spare and rocks the SAT cold. He misses one on math. Gets an almost perfect SAT on math. And he did whatever he did in English. He got the highest SAT, I will tell you, any of my kids will ever get. And I love them. And they're probably all going to listen. And you guys know I love you. But Michael's going to get well, I know for a fact Aiden's already taken it. Zoe, you can do this.
Zoe,
You've got this.
I believe in you.
Zoe, I believe in you. But I mean, he rocked it. And it was horrible. It was so horrible. I mean, I had friends who were like, this is the night you're going to go to bed at 9:01 p.m. and, 8 weeks of prep and like whatever. And I'm like, we're like, get in the car. Like, it was so bad. So yeah, there you go. It worked out though. Like it
did
usually
work out.
does.
Yeah, we had no anxiety around it at least,
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
No anxiety.
Nope.
What about Seychelles? You say something, anything else?
Well, yeah, it was a couple weeks ago actually. We were like school pickup is still so early, right? It's like you have to leave the house at 2:45 to go get her from elementary school. And I was like doing, like in the middle of a meeting and working on stuff, and Nick and I had talked the day before about who was going to get Quinn. We worked it all out, and Nick was working on his stuff, and all of a sudden I get a call from the nurse's office at like 3:10, and they're like, hi, this is Dallas ISD. I'm in my meeting. I don't get the call. So it's a voicemail, and they leave it. And it's like, this is Dallas ISD. We've got Quinn in the nurse's office waiting for you guys.
When you're listening to the message and the first line says Dallas ISD, you're like, this isn't good.
Oh,
this is not good. No. Yeah.
And then
what did we do? What did we do? Yeah. Well, and I'm like that, and I'm like, you have like the visual voicemail, and so you're like on the meeting, but you kind of glance and see you missed a call, and so you see it kind of pop up, and I was like, well, maybe it's one of those like automated messages because you get those, and then it starts like machine gun dialing you, And you're like,
Nine calls later.
Yeah. I was like, I gotta get this, and all of a sudden
you're
the voice, the voice on the other end of the line.
This can't be good.
The other voice that is on the other end of the line is Quinn, and it's just her voice is still so sweet. She's 8, and she's like, "Mommy, did you forget? You
don't love me anymore." Which is what your self-talk is. That's the inner dialogue, right? That's the inner dialogue.
And she just she has a sweet voice in person, but on the phone, you hear it.
I know
so
your
tiny.
kids' voices on the phone sound
It's
so
so sweet.
It's so tiny, and it's Mommy, did you forget me? And we did agree the day before who was going to go get her. I just didn't realize that it was me that had agreed to go get her, and Nick was totally right. It was me. I had agreed to, and I just totally spaced.
You totally blanked, yeah.
Blanked and left our kid. She was like, I was the last kid at school. They were trying to go home without me. You were leaving me forever. I'm like, oh, sorry.
Well, unfortunately, my kids have had that experience multiple times.
Oh, so many times.
That's a sad thing. I'm like, it's probably not the last.
Yeah.
It's like almost like a rite of passage. Like every kid probably has to go through that.
Yeah.
But that can I just jump in with one that reminded me? Crying Girls. Okay, so like in case you're noticing a theme, a lot of my fails come from like my type A. Like I'm imparting these onto my kids, right? So 1 year for Zoe's birthday, she's 12 now. I'm going to guess this is like 7 or 8. She was like 7 or 8. She was really probably a 7th birthday. Her birthday is October 27th, which is right around Halloween. Yeah. And I'm in Seattle. It's cold and wet and rainy during October. So, but you get pumpkin patches and really cool stuff like that during Halloween. Like, it's a fun time to have a birthday. So we're like, Zoe, this is going to be the big party. Like, I work a lot. Like, I'm going to prove to you I love you, right? By doing the big party this year, right? So we're going to have like a spa, an at-home spa. And I got these little kits and set them around the table. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to the big pumpkin farm, place in town, and we're going to take all the girls and we're going to have a sleepover. Is like the biggest, most involved birthday party we've ever had. So all the girls come over and we know them all.
With river rafting.
Right, in a different state. Yeah, well, that's river rafting would have been better. So we it's like just starting to pour down rain, and we're starting to get you guys still going to go to the pumpkin farm? Yeah, we're doing it. We're we've got the group set. Like, we're gonna go, and then Ben privately, like, are we still gonna do the pumpkin farm? I'm like, absolutely, we're gonna do the pumpkin farm. And then Michael,
it's gonna be the best day of her life.
Because Michael or Aiden, like, they had to be chaperones and whatever. They're like, Mom, are we gonna still do the pumpkin? Yes, we're doing the pumpkin. So by now I'm like digging my heels in, right? So we load all the girls in. There must have been like 10 girls, right? We load them all in the car and we get to the pumpkin farm and we have to park in this field. It is dark. It is cold. It is raining. It is muddy. It was horrible. And they're like, this is kind of slippery, Mrs. Wolf. like they're falling. I'm like, it's fine. Get up. We're doing the pumpkin farm, right? So we like walk like a half mile away and they're falling and it's raining and it's so cold and everyone's like mad at me. And then we have to wait in line to get the tickets. So finally, by the time we get to the maze, which is in the dark part across another parking lot, the girls were melting down, crying, I want to go home, I want my mom. And they were scared and like they were just, it was so horrible. It was so melted down. I'm like, fine. We turn around, we trudge through everything. We literally get as far as the entrance and we don't go. We get in the car, we drive home. 2 of them got picked up by their moms. And then the rest of them had we had this at-home spa and they had a sleepover and that's all they wanted to do. All they wanted to do was just stay home and like eat popcorn and watch movies. And they had so much fun. And it was horrible. And we still, to this day, every time we plan a birthday party, they were like, you want to go to the pumpkin farm? It was so horrible, like crying, melting down girls. So yeah, that reminded me. I was so determined that it was going to be the best birthday.
That's beautiful.
Anyway,
so beautiful.
There you go. I know.
Well, I have one last one we can kind of finish with. So, my kids are close in age. They're only 15 months apart. So they were actually both in diapers together. And I remember, we're in Texas, so it's warm here a lot. And I can remember we were over at my friend's house, and my friend had a little baby pool in the backyard. And just, I think for the sake of ease, we had taken off both their diapers, and both my kids were running around naked in the backyard. And then at some point, one of my kids just ends up taking a poo in the yard, and and I pick it up with my bare hand. And I just think I was just so accustomed to poop at that point, because I've got 2 kids in diapers.
And with that, yeah.
Yeah. And I just remember like looking at that, then realizing what I'd done. I just picked it up so automatically. And I looking at that piece of poop in my hand and just realizing and thinking to myself, Wendy, this is the low point of your life. This is it. This is the lowest point of your life. Yeah. So.
That's like a philosophical moment, like staring at a handful of poo.
It can only go up from here.
Literally,
and
my
you
life
literally
is
know
shit.
I'm searching little poo emojis to send to Wendy. I'm doing this right now. Oh my gosh.
Yes,
well, here's the thing.
Yes.
Here's the thing, ladies. I can't imagine, by the way, a better way to wrap this up than Wendy's life is officially gone to shit. But why we wanted to share this episode, like the last thing we would ever want to share are parenting wins, because those are what get published on social media, and And those are the ones that, everybody talks about. No. Empire building. We're going to talk about the fails, like the mom fails, right? And I know one thing. I know that we all have great kids and they all get fed. Sometimes, eventually, they get fed, usually most of the time. And, they're all going to have great lives and they're all going to do great and contribute to society and we can laugh about it, right? And we hope you can too. That's the whole point of us doing these, It is not Seychelles' fault that her daughter has a genetic predisposition to not sleep well, right? Obviously, that's not a fail. It is, Wendy's an incredible mom, even though she completely bailed and stood up her kid on Thanksgiving lunch. I am sometimes a good mom, even though I completely forget that SATs are coming, or I drag young girls to pumpkin farms at night in the rain and the mud, right? And so, every one of these stories, we hope you can relate to one, and we hope that that you're an amazing, amazing mom, an amazing dad, an amazing parent, and we think you're incredible. And you listen to this for a reason, and you listen to us for a reason, and we think you're special, and we think you're amazing. So, all of these parenting fails are good and fun, and I hope you leave this podcast feeling great and better about yourself, because we're such disasters, right? So hopefully you feel better about yourself than you did before.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to all of you guys. And on Father's Day is coming up soon, so happy Father's Day in advance.
Yes.
And we thank you guys, and don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and a review. We can't get enough of those.
And don't forget us. Don't forget to send your parenting fails.
Oh, yes, thank you. Empire Building Podcast.
At gmail.com. We look forward to reading them because if you send them in, we're going to be reading them on a future episode. So
yes, we are. So
have a good one, guys. Bye.
All right, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.